people, the headlines, the issues impacting you, all on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
And welcome back to This Week in Cincinnati. I'm Craig McKee. You know, it's one of those stories it seems everyone has feelings about one way or another, allowing girls into the Boy Scouts. As of the 1st of February, it's the norm. Across the country, young women are joining troops, taking part in traditional Scout activities, and starting the road towards earning Scouting's highest rank of Eagle. But it raises a lot of complicated questions. First, how to manage young men and women during their teen years. And some organizations have decided to stop sponsoring troops as a result of the change. Joining us now to talk about all of this, and especially what it means for Scouts in our area, is Dan Beard Council Scout Executive Tom Duggar. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you, Craig.
So, going off that point of teenagers in their teen years, are they scouting together? Are the boys and the girls together on these scouting adventures now? Or what kind of parameters have been put in place? And are men and women scout leaders a part of this? How do you work it?
Sure, correct. Since the 1980s, we've had very defined guidelines on two-deep leadership, and we call it youth protection, and it is working very well since its implementation. But by definition, the program that we will now brand Scouts BSA will not be co-ed. We have been in the co-ed business in scouting really for 50 years when our exploring program became co-ed in 1969. And then when we created the venturing program in 1994, we started seeing young men and women camping together, but always under the supervision of adults that are properly trained for that. But by definition, the Scouts BSA program will not be co-ed. There'll be separate troops for girls and separate troops for boys.
Okay. And what has been the reaction locally with this change?
It's been very good. I find that the concern about it is defined by age demographic. I turned 65 in October, and generally people above my age have some questions or concerns about it, but so often we find that they don't understand the part about it not being co-ed. For the parent of your generation, they're very positive about it, because we actually got into it because parents were telling us we like scouting, but we'd like to do it together and not have dad and brothers go off on the weekend and leave sister at home. Right. And the families really are excited about it.
The pushback from the community has been, at least by some people, is that you're stripping the identity of the Boy Scouts of America, and you're stripping that away. Right.
Yeah, corporately we are still Boy Scouts of America, and we will remain that. It's interesting that our Cub Scout program, girls will be called Cub Scouts, like Cub Scouts have always been. The middle school age program we have traditionally called Boy Scouting will now become Scouts BSA. Okay. And young women will be members of Scouts BSA, as will boys. And then the venturing program remains the same. But scouting will be by design the very same. It's always been the same Scout oath, the same Scout law. Young women will work on the same program, the same criteria that boys will, and it's pretty exciting to see this come about.
How many girls have you had join locally?
Well, as you know, Cub Scouting became open to girls last year, and at the end of the year we had 900, more than 900 join that. Since this opened up literally 4 weeks ago in the Scouts BSA program, we've organized 9 new Scout troops for girls.
Has this put any type of extra burden on the program to be able to implement everything, or is it just as simple as, you know, you have the male troops here and the women troops here, and we're studying the same book and going through the same projects, but it's just that, you know, I mean, was there a big burden, or was this an easy switch?
Well, some of the burdens that we'll see. This will be our first summer camp season in 19, where we will have young women in what has traditionally been Boy Scout camp. So we're having to do some with the physical facilities, we're having to do some retooling of that, reworking of bathrooms and showers and that type of thing. But we had a head start on that in that women have been actively participating in the scouting program since 1988, and when women were allowed to become scoutmasters. So we do have men and women, adult men and women in our camps in the summertime, so we simply have to expand that a little bit more.
When you look at some of the regional gatherings or even national gatherings, that's a whole nother challenge, I would assume, for Scouting BSA in order to control everything and maintain control. I mean, obviously summer camps happen, other organizations have summer camps all the time. I went to co-ed summer camps when I was young. It wasn't tied to scouting at that time, but how do you face something like that when you're talking about thousands?
Well, you make a good point that many other organizations have made this step some years before. In 1990 and 91, I worked at the World Scout headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, and had a chance to see scouting around the world. And we're one of the last national scout associations that traces its heritage to the original Boy Scout program to make this step. But again, it's about just simply having to step up the available facilities. Our National Boy Scout Jamboree is now held at the Summit Bechtel Reserve in near Beckley, West Virginia, and they have about 40,000 young people there. But many of the young people on that Jamboree staff are young women through the venturing program. Many are female adults through that program. So it simply becomes a matter of just expanding those facilities that we have and working with them.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate the update here. Danbury Council Scout Executive Tom Duggar, thank you so much for your time today. Certainly appreciate it, and we'll continue to follow the history being made.
Thank you, Greg.
All right. All right, the Girl Scouts of the USA is among the groups not happy with the girls being allowed to join Boy Scouts. It issued a statement a while back that said, benefit of the single gender environment has been well documented by educators, scholars, other girl and youth serving organizations, and Girl Scouts and their families. It's also now challenging the Boy Scouts in a trademark infringement lawsuit.